Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're listening. Welcome back to AI and the Future of Work. Thanks again for making this one of the most downloaded podcasts about the future of work. If you enjoy what we do, please like, comment, and share in your favorite podcast app. And we'll keep sharing great conversations like the one we have for today. I'm your host, Dan Turchin, CEO of PeopleRain, the AI platform for IT and HR employee service. I'm also an investor in and advisor to more than 30 AI-first companies, and as you know, a firm believer in the power of technology to make humans better. If you're passionate about changing the world with AI, or maybe just looking for your next adventure, let's talk. Today's a special live episode of the podcast. In more than 185 episodes, this is only the 5th live episode we've recorded. For AI and the Future of Work trivia buffs, the first one was back in 2019 with Reza Nazaman, former CIO of SAP SuccessFactors. And in honor of the special occasion, we're going to skip the weekly fun fact to give us more time to hang out with today's guest. Now, we often discuss the connection between employee experiences and customer experiences. Organizations that invest in better employee experiences tend to dramatically outperform the competition. Of course, we focus on the employee experience from the perspective of technology. We've discussed AI for talent management with great guests like Kamal Ahluwalia from Eightfold and HRTech investors like Jason Corsello from Acadian Ventures. Well, today's guest is one of the HRTech leaders at the leading HR industry body, SHRM, or the Society for Human Resources Management. SHRM boasts an impressive 300,000 plus members in 165 countries and was started all the way back in 1948. Guillermo Corea is the managing director of the SHRM Workplace Innovation Lab and Venture Capital Initiatives. He joined SHRM in 2015. Guillermo and his team are focused on finding and cultivating technologies that will impact the future of work. Guillermo's team organizes the SHRM Better Workplaces Challenge Cup and Workplace Tech Accelerator. Plus, they lead the organization's impact investing program. Guillermo's a vocal leader in the HR tech community, and I have the pleasure of meeting him today in person at SHRM Tech 2023 here in San Francisco. Without further ado, Guillermo, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the podcast. Let's get started by having you share a little bit more about your background.
Thank you very much, Dan. I really appreciate you coming all the way out here to SHRM Tech. We're very excited about finishing up our first SHRM Tech event in the US. It's actually a show or an event that we've been doing over the past, 3 years or so in India. It was something that was started by our SHRM India team, and we've now expanded it into the US. And we view it as the premier HR tech event in the world that is very much focused on the HR executive decision maker. So this is not the type of event where you come to see vendor demos or hear product demos. It's really about the people who are driving workplace innovation and who are the best people equipped to do that, and that's HR. Great to be here with you. To share a little bit about myself. I came out of school right around the time when the internet hit. I caught the bug and have pretty much been on that digital internet wave ever since. I tell people that one of my favorite quotes is luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And so in 2015, I joined SHRM, and believe it or not, my first job out of school was at a small nonprofit. When I left it, I said, I'm never working in the nonprofit world again. Well, 2015 showed up. I looked at SHRM. I said, you know what, let's give it a try, see how it goes. And it's been an incredible ride. And so what ended up happening is that given my background in digital media, I very quickly got involved with e-commerce at SHRM, as well as driving digital product and services partnerships. And what that allowed me to do was to get a really good sense of the overall market, the HR market out there. And not just that, but being a part of SHRM, all the conferences that we do, the 320,000 plus members that we have, right? It has given me like a really solid background on what makes HR tick and what our members are looking for, what's important for our members. So about 2.5 years ago, Alex Alonso, our Chief Knowledge Officer, came to me with this opportunity of taking over the leadership of SHRM Labs. And so I jumped at the chance. Been an incredible ride. I actually don't view my role as the managing director of SHRM Labs as a job. It's really a lot of fun for me, and obviously, getting to talk about AI and disruptive technologies like that is just fun for me. I don't view it as a job.
I described the mission of Labs based on some of the programs that I know you organize. Talk us through Labs versus the broader SHRM organization.
Sure, absolutely. So number one, we're part of a mission-driven organization, right? We're a subgroup of SHRM, right? But we're still part of that mission-driven organization. So at the very, very top is always the mission, which is better workplaces, better world. Now, how is it that SHRM Labs, is connected to SHRM, right? We're basically helping SHRM support in elevating HR as the thought leader in workplace innovation. The way that we see it, no one out there is better equipped to drive workplace innovation than HR is. Not finance, not marketing, not operations, and certainly not IT. And no offense to any IT folks out there, but I think a lot of my HR people out there will understand what I mean by that. And so that's what we do. We help, we support SHRM in elevating the HR profession. To that end, what we've done is we've created programs that help our members engage, right? Because they're our number one audience. But then we also have to look at the second audience that is very important to us, and that's the innovators that are out there. Okay. And so to that end, back in 2021, when we first began executing, the first thing that we did was we created a pitch competition that we called the Better Workplaces Challenge Cup. This is now, I think it's safe to say that it's the top workplace pitch competition because of the format that it's been built in. It's a global competition that has rounds in the United States, as well as, you name it, Europe, Africa, Middle East, Asia Pacific, Latin America. Now, the important piece about this competition, and this is where we get to talking about, how members engage with it and start getting more familiar with workplace innovation and all the different disruptive technologies around HRTech, is that we co-host first rounds of the competition with the largest chapters at SHRM. So think of, the big cities out there: San Francisco, DC, New York, Atlanta, Chicago, Austin, Dallas. So the biggest chapters at SHRM participate as the co-host. They provide the judges, and so you have HRTech startups that are participating, or let's call them workplace tech startups, because it's not just HR that they deal with, right? And they participate, and then they're judged by HR practitioners, the people who they're trying to sell their products to. So what better way of moving through a workplace pitch competition than actually having the people who are going to be buying your products basically putting a stamp of approval and saying, hey, you know what, this technology or this solution or this platform really belongs in the marketplace. So we launched that in 2021, had great success with it. We even had Damon John as the celebrity judge in the finals. Last year, we took it international for the first time. This year, we started the competition in February. And we're doing 5 rounds in the US, 5 rounds international. And then we're going to have 2 semifinals. And from the semifinals, the 2 winners are going to get to participate at the SHRM Annual Conference and Expo that's happening June 11th through the 14th in Las Vegas. So that's the pitch competition. That kind of like got our feet wet into this whole craziness, right, of workplace tech. Last year, we launched something that we called the Workplace Tech Accelerator. I think you're familiar with what an accelerator does. Accelerators are a dime a dozen. In our case, though, we were able to create something that's very, very unique because there is nobody out there that has the network that SHRM has. Like when you really, truly look at our entire network, it's not really just the 320,000 members or the conferences that we put on. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we did last year during the kickoff is that we brought the cohort companies to our headquarters where they got to meet with some of our executives as well as get presentations from these executives. One of the presentations that they got was from our chief membership officer, Mike Aiken. And once they saw the how big the SHRM network is, the look on their faces was just priceless. I wish I could have taken a picture of that. And so we created this accelerator, right, to address one big issue that we see out there. And that is this gap between, like I was saying earlier, the people who know the workplace the best, HR, and the innovators out there. And the gap is that, you have innovators that they see a problem, they jump on the problem, they think they found a solution, and then they bring it over to HR, and HR basically says, that's not for me. And so what we're doing with our Workplace Tech Accelerator cohort companies is that we're immersing them in the SHRM experience. We're immersing them in the HR experience. We get them to truly understand our members and what they're looking for, so that they can truly cater their solutions or their products to the needs of the workers and the workplace. So that model, we saw it last year. It's worked fantastic. As a matter of fact, at HRTech this week, we brought in 5 of our founders, and they were able to participate in panels, and that's how we get them connected. The third big piece of what SHRM Labs is all about is recently in January of this year, we launched something that we called the Workplace Tech Community. So the way that I describe the Workplace Tech Community is that it's think of it as the online playground where HR and the innovators out there are going to be able to collaborate, explore a lot of the disruptive technologies like voice, AI, virtual reality, the HR blockchain, and how those technologies can be used to solve critical workplace challenges. And so we put this community together, not by accident, but we actually went to our members 2 years ago, and we did a survey in which they said, hey, you know what? We're looking for a safe space where we can come in, collaborate with each other, look at all the different tech that is out there. One piece that I'll add in there that I forgot to mention in the beginning is that, building a community product like this, it's not a one and done, right? It's something that you build over time, you add features and functionalities. So the way that we did our 1.0 release is that we came up with, think of this as the TripAdvisor for HRTech, right? Where our members are going to be able to come in, read product reviews, look at the ratings, determine, if somebody was happy with the way that the vendor implemented, said product, and things like that. And so that's something that we, that's available for SHRM members. It's being slowly rolled out. And we think that it's going to have a great deal of impact in getting our members to become more digitally savvy, without a doubt. And then the last and fourth piece that I'll mention to you that makes up SHRM Labs is our venture capital arm. We invest into venture capital funds as well as do direct investments into startups that are strategically aligned with our overall mission, which is better workplaces, better world. I know I said a lot there, so let me pause there and see if you have any questions about that.
These days, you could argue that the CHRO is the most strategic leader in the C-suite. There's this hyper focus on the quality of employee experiences. To the extent you agree with that statement, why do you think that's the case?
I think you're right. And, the one easy thing that I can point to is look at the employment rate, right? Or the unemployment rate, I should say. I think the last one that I read about was either 3.4 or 3.5%. One of the top issues, if not the top issue that HR folks are dealing with right now is retention and recruitment, right? So when you have a problem like that directly affects the number one resource that companies have, right, which is its workforce, then the CHRO is going to take a center seat, right? One analogy that I like to make is that if you go back and you look at the financial crisis from 2008, 2009, right? The people who took the center stage were the CFOs, right? Just because of everything that was going on at that time. If you go back to 1999, right, and the whole Y2K problem, right, it was IT that took center stage. So right now, it's definitely about the CHRO. It's about having the right resources in place, having the right programs in place for employees, right, to make sure that you have happy and productive employees. So that's the reason why the CHRO is center stage right now.
How do you think employees' expectations about what their relationship is with their employer have changed over the last few years?
I think that, one of the things that obviously there's a lot going on, right? When you look at the economy, like at a macro level, there's so many things that you can point to, right? From, the number of baby boomers that are retiring right now. And that's definitely when you have a large number of people that are leaving the workforce, right? That's where, or I should say that augments the whole retention and recruitment problem, right? Because you have less people. But honestly, I think that one of the things that happened with the pandemic is that it scared so many people or not scared, actually, that's the wrong word. I think there's a lot more people that are awake now about what truly matters in their lives, right? And so you have a lot of employees that are now thinking twice about, do I really need to be working 12, 14-hour days, right? Instead of spending that time with my kids, right? Or instead of spending that time with doing things that I would prefer to be doing. So I think that's where, that's one of the main reason why I think employees have become finicky about what they do, and we have research from our research team that shows that, the younger generations, millennials, Gen Zs, they have kind of like other priorities than just, working and building a career. They're more interested in taking care of themselves. So
you sit at this really unique nexus of where the employee experience meets technology. Polish your crystal ball. Tell me, in, let's say, a decade, what's one technology that will be commonplace at work that today might seem like science fiction?
I think voice, without a doubt. And I have no doubt about that. As a matter of fact, 3 years ago, we did a pilot at one of our, actually, it was at our annual conference that we did it, where we basically created Alexa skills for, Alexa from Amazon, right? We created these skills for HR professionals. And back then we were just thinking about, our members, figuring out ways in which they would be able to be more efficient and strategic at work, right? And one of the ways that they can accomplish that is by using technology that takes away manual processes, right? So for example, if you have somebody, I don't know, let's say you have somebody that works in Texas, but they have an HR professional that works in Texas, right? But they have employees that work in California, right? And so let's say this person is not too familiar with FMLA, right? And so they're sitting at their desk, they have, their voice device, whatever that might be, let's say it's an Echo from Amazon, right? And they just basically say, hey, Alexa, can you send me FMLA information about California? And then boom, next thing you know, they get an email with all the necessary information about FMLA in California and what they need to worry about, right? So now forward, that was 3 years ago, right? So forward to where we are now, we actually are beginning to see, I don't know, signs of that like proliferating through the entire work environment, right? Think of, I don't know, something as simple as employees walking into a conference room and saying like, hey, Max, connect us to such and such conference. Hey, Max, turn on the lights. And by the way, I'm saying Max because one of our portfolio companies called Humaxa, they created a bot that provides information to HR professionals, and they call it Max.
I often say AI is the new UI and voice is the new app.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's say you're talking to an audience of HR leaders and they're asking for your advice about how to go from maybe being a laggard when it comes to tech to being kind of a tech forward organization. Where do they start?
The very, very first step in this whole journey is putting together a strategy, right? And that doesn't mean putting an HR technology plan in place, right? As we heard this morning, actually, from one of our keynoters, Jason Aberbrook, right? One of the things that he said was a lot of people make this mistake of thinking that putting together a plan that says, hey, I'm going to move from, I don't know, Ceridian to Workday. They call that a digital strategy, and that's not what it is, right? It's an HR technology plan. You're basically just saying, hey, I'm going to move from this platform to this other platform. Digital strategy really is about looking at your overall culture in your company. You know, how is it that people are engaging with technologies, right? What is the outcome going to be? Like, it can't just be, you know, implementing a new technology. That's not it, right? Because then you still have to roll it out to your employees. Are employees going to be happy with it? You know, one of the examples that Jason gave was when the iPhone came out, right? Everybody now expects to be able to do a lot of things, you know, in that kind of format, right? And if you're not implementing solutions like that in the workplace, then you're really not meeting the needs of your, you know, of your employees. It was funny, like during that presentation, he actually said, how many people here are still using fax machines? And honestly, it was incredible to see the number of people that raised their hands that are still using fax machines. I mean, just it's wild, you know.
Shifting from fax machines to AI, I'm not sure there's a good segue, but increasingly AI is being used to automate a lot of functions in HR. And it's an interesting use of technology, but I would posit there are some potential downsides of having AI screen resumes or make decisions about who gets hired, promoted, fired, et cetera. How do you think about the ethics and some of the opportunities to introduce automation into the workplace, but also some of the challenges?
Yeah, that's a really, really tough issue to think about. You know, one of the things that we're going to start looking at is the building of the AI, right? Because people are the ones that are creating the AI, right? So what biases are, you know, could software developers, for example, be putting into the AI? You know, I'm sure you've heard about, you know, algorithms, right? Not being too DEI friendly or diversity, equity, and inclusion friendly, right? So I think that's really the first step of you know, looking at that, right? I think that once people start getting comfortable with using the technology, and as long as they're able to trust the technology, then I don't think it's going to be a problem using it. As a matter of fact, I think it's going to make a lot of stuff a lot more strategic, right? Or more efficient. I should say I could totally foresee a lot of HR manual processes right now going away because of AI. You know, so first you have to really gain that trust in order for people to start feeling like they can use the technology. And I'm going to give you an example, actually. So I'm a big tennis fan, and you know, one of the things that I began to notice last year was that at the tennis tournaments they no longer have line judges, right? But it took a few years for the players to get comfortable with trusting that all these cameras and systems that they've now implemented at stadiums, that they are being truthful in the line calls that they're doing, right? So I think it's a similar situation in the workplace, right? I think people need to just, you know, once they start trusting the technology, then I think you're going to see a lot of great things happening.
Every sport, not just tennis, right? There are the purists. I'm thinking of baseball.
Yeah, or soccer, actually. I mean, so in last year's World Cup, right? I think it was the first time that they implemented for the VR for the offside calls, right? As well as the VR for goals. And as a matter of fact, during the final game, Argentina was given a goal after the VR proved that it had been a goal. So yeah.
Amazing technology.
Yep.
I call that progress. What do you say to all the purists, whether they're HR purists or tennis fans or soccer fans, who say that's not the way the game was meant to be played?
Honestly, they need to jump on the wagon or else they're going to be left behind. And I actually have a perfect example for that, and that is the HR blockchain, right? I think that's one of those, that is truly a disruptive technology for the workplace, in my mind. I view, no offense to background companies out there, but I view them as dinosaurs now. Once this blockchain gets really, really going, there's not going to be a need to have to contract out to a background company to verify a new employee joining your organization, right? If you have somebody who's already been verified by other companies as having worked there, as having the skill set that they say that they have, as having the degrees that they say that they have, right? Why do you need to go back and recheck or re-verify all that information, right? There's no need for it.
How would that user's record on the blockchain get updated as their profile changes?
Well, it's really interesting that you're mentioning that, because I was I did an interview earlier on today where the same question came up, right? And so, you're going to have the employee, right, or the person having the ability to be able to update their own credentials, right? But at the same time, at the same exact time, there's also going to be the verification that's going to be happening, right? So for example, I have an MBA from Cornell. If I put down somewhere that, hey, I got an MBA from Cornell, right now, the way that it works is that you have to go out to Cornell and verify that I have that information, right? But if I have a digital credential that already has that verified, right, then it's just a matter of the other organization plugging into the same network and seeing that it's been verified by Cornell. Or if if it hasn't happened yet, then, think of, I'm plugged in, the organization's plugged in, Cornell is plugged in, right? And so then it all happens instantly, where I'm going in, I'm saying, hey, I have an MBA from Cornell. There's an automatic ping out to Cornell. Cornell says, yes, he has an MBA from us. And then that ping goes back to the organization, telling them that it's been verified. So
vast improvement.
Absolutely.
I often say you never want to be on the wrong side of innovation.
Absolutely.
Throughout history, even going back to the Industrial Revolution, the ones who decided to break machines, the Luddites, they were on the wrong side of innovation. Same philosophy holds today.
Absolutely. Yep. No doubt about it.
So you're talking to a lot of students who are thinking about how they can be successful in an environment, in a workplace environment where your colleague's a bot. What do you think are the skills that are innately human that will always be valuable, even when a lot of manual tasks and mundane tasks are automated?
Sure. So absolutely, without a doubt, in the future, people with a high level of EQ are going to do much better than people who, even though they may have a high IQ, but can't really communicate or talk with people. That is an absolute must. And even now, I mean, you see it right now, that the people who truly are able to have relationships, are able to communicate correctly with people, right? Those are the people that typically advance in their careers, right? So I think that's definitely a very, very, very important skill set to have. The other thing that I'll add to it is that, especially with, when you take into consideration a lot of the issues that this world has, right? And I'm going to point at the pandemic. I think people need to be more empathetic and really not jump at, and make conclusions, with other people, because you never know what somebody could be going through, right? As a matter of fact, I at the beginning of the year, I had been in contact with somebody and I wasn't hearing from this person, and I was beginning to wonder, like, what the hell's going on here? Why is she not responding? And it turns out that the father had passed away. And so, I think that that is a skill set that definitely people need to build to be more empathetic. And I view that also as helping the workplace, because then, when you look at it from a diversity, equity, and inclusion perspective, right, I think that that's going to help the workplace in that regard. And the reason why that's important is because it's been well proven that organizations that truly value diversity and DEI tend to do better financially. I mean, it's no longer like the right thing to do. It's like, it's no longer the right thing to do. People should just do it even for the economics, right?
Hey, Guillermo, I got to get you off the hot seat, but you're not getting out of here without answering one last question for me. I'm curious, you see a lot of technologies before they're exposed to the public, maybe before they're even commercialized. Would love your impression. What's something over the last maybe couple quarters, 3-6 months that just blew you away that maybe the rest of us don't know about?
Actually, that's an easy one for me. So, I mentioned that I've been at SHRM 8 years, or almost 8 years, right? And I've looked at a variety of different products, solutions. One that I've yet to see, actually I've seen it now, I think. And so let me back it up a little bit and give you some context. In 2019, we came out with research that showed that 58% of people leave their organizations because of a bad manager, right? So the one product that I've seen missing out there in the marketplace is an assessment, not just for the candidate, right, but also for the manager. Not just an assessment that tells you that this person is going to be able to do the job. It's not just an assessment that tells you that this person is going to be a fit with the culture of your organization. I'm talking about an assessment that basically says these two people are going to be compatible, meaning the candidate and the hiring manager. That is a step that I've always that I had yet to see until I was exposed to it 3 weeks ago. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but it is coming. I can tell you that it's going to be one of our cohort companies for the 2023 Workplace Tech Accelerator, and that is going to be announced soon. So I'll leave it when it's announced. You're going to have to. That's a cool tease. You'll have to come back another time and for the big unveil. Absolutely, I would love to. Good stuff, Guillermo. This has been a lot of fun. For the next time we record in person and we talk about this big reveal of this company, you'll have to come out and we'll watch a tennis tournament together. Absolutely. We got the tournament at Stanford, so maybe we'll coordinate schedules around the next one. Oh, I would love to come down for that. Absolutely. And by the way, if you're a tennis fan, or for any tennis fans out there, Pete Sampras is the GOAT. I don't care what anybody says. He walks in water. So I saw him at the Australian Open a while back, and that was life-changing. I saw him in DC. So yeah, an incredible player. Guillermo, where can our audience learn more about you and the work that the team at SHRM Labs is doing? Sure. You can visit us at shrmlabs.com. Obviously, all of us are on LinkedIn. If you go to SHRM, you'll see that, especially now where we've dramatically increased this year what we're putting out there. We actually have something called the Workplace Tech Spotlight. It's a bi-weekly show that we stream over our social media channels, and it's basically a 15-minute conversation where we provide our audience with some quick, valuable insights about what's going on in a workplace innovation, et cetera. So we're out there. We will link to that in the show notes. Sounds good. Thank you very much. Guillermo, it's been great hanging out. Thanks for doing this in person. Likewise. And gosh, this one flew by, but that's a wrap for this week on AI and the future of work. As always, I'm your host, Dan Turchin. And of course, we're back next week with another fascinating guest.